Do you experience this too? Every day you wage an invisible war, not against armed armies or uniformed enemies, but against your own mind. It's a war against insecurity, against the paralyzing doubt, against the fear that scrambles your thoughts and steals your clarity. Perhaps you've felt this before. You wake up with determination, and minutes later, you're lost in uncertainty. For a moment, you believe in yourself, and then, the next, you sabotage yourself. It's as if there's a constant fog hiding your true strength. This fog is treacherous. It doesn't arrive with a bang, but creeps in silently, eroding your confidence little by little until you begin to believe you're incapable, worthless, and will never succeed. But there's something that breaks through this darkness: discipline. The Stoics knew this. Without discipline, no soul finds peace. For them, discipline wasn't just an external exercise, but the very essence of inner freedom. Marcus Aurelius woke up every day remembering that he wasn't born to curl up in blankets, but to act. Epictetus taught that no one is free unless they master themselves. The Stoics trained their minds as soldiers train their bodies, with rigor, consistency, and courage. Because both on the battlefield and in ordinary life, discipline is what separates order from chaos, clarity from confusion, strength from weakness. And perhaps you've never seen discipline from this angle. It's not a prison, it's not the death of freedom. On the contrary, discipline is the only way to be truly free. It's what silences insecurity, gives direction to the mind, and transforms doubt into certainty. And it is this Stoic thinking that the military have and execute very well. That's what we're going to talk about. 10 military secrets of discipline, translated by Stoic wisdom, capable of showing you how to win this invisible war. 10 weapons that will transform your mind into safe, firm, and unshakable territory. So ask yourself now, are you ready to take charge of your life, like a soldier takes charge of his mission, and like a Stoic takes charge of his soul? Secret 1. Plan ahead, win before the battle. One of the military's most valuable secrets is that victory doesn't happen on the battlefield, but long before it. Elite troops, like the British SAS, practice every move repeatedly before the actual mission. They simulate, rehearse, repeat, until the action becomes a reflex, until the mind and body are so prepared that there's no longer room for nervous improvisation. Victory, in this case, isn't the result of chance, but of exhaustive planning. That's how you win before you fight. In ordinary life, many live as if everything were improvised. They wake up not knowing what to do, letting the day decide the pace, surrendering to the randomness of circumstances. The result is predictable: insecurity, confusion, a constant feeling of being behind. Those who don't plan live reacting. Those who plan create direction. This is the difference between being swept along by the flow or becoming the master of your own trajectory. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the practice of imagining obstacles before they arise. Marcus Aurelius would write down early in the morning what types of people and situations he would encounter during the day: ungrateful, hasty, arrogant, inevitable distractions. By anticipating, he was no longer caught off guard. When difficulty arose, he was ready. This was his mental planning, not to worry more, but to prepare better. Planning doesn't eliminate the unexpected, but it gives your mind a map to deal with it. And here's the secret: when you've prepared, insecurity fades. Because insecurity stems from "I don't know what to do." Planning ahead transforms that "I don't know" into clarity. Instead of being overwhelmed by confused thoughts in the midst of a storm, you calmly follow what you've already defined. In the military, planning goes down to the last detail. What is the mission? What is the worst-case scenario? What are plans B, C, and D? This discipline of thinking ahead saves lives. You can apply the same principle on a personal level. Before starting your day, plan your tasks. Before a meeting, anticipate potential problems. Before an important project, list risks and strategies. It's not paranoia, it's discipline. The Stoics would say that planning ahead is a way of living prudently. Seneca reminded us that those who prepare for life are never surprised by the blows of fate. He added, "It's not about living anxiously, but about living ready." Just like the soldier who rehearses until the gesture becomes second nature, you too can train your mind to act with clarity, even when life tests your limits. Insecurity dissolves when you have a script. Improvisation may seem like freedom, but in practice, it generates more anxiety. Planning, on the other hand, is a form of true freedom, the freedom to act calmly amidst chaos. It's you who decides, not fear. It's you who guides, not doubt. The next time you feel paralyzed, lost in a tangle of thoughts, do as a soldier does before battle. Stop and plan. Draw the map, visualize the worst-case scenario, prepare for it. That way, when life brings the unexpected, and it always does, you'll have already won before you even begin to fight. Secret 2. Cold shower. Harden the body and mind. Cold showers seem like punishment to many, but for military personnel, they're routine. Whether you're in the middle of a desert base or undergoing survival training in the freezing sea, the order is clear. Get in the water, endure the cold, and don't back down. This isn't just about hygiene. It's about discipline, about training the body to obey even when the mind screams to give up. And it's precisely this kind of practice that teaches us to overcome insecurity and mental confusion. Think about how we react to discomfort. Typically, we seek escape. The body craves warmth, the mind craves relief, and we quickly seek the easiest route. But every time we choose the comfortable path, we're also fueling insecurity. Because insecurity is precisely that, the refusal to face the discomfort of the unknown. When you avoid the cold, you also avoid growth. When you run from pain, you run from clarity. The military understands that the mind must be conditioned to resist the immediate impulse to escape. The cold shower, then, becomes a symbol. It shows that it is possible to endure the initial resistance, overcome the shock, breathe deeply, and, amid the discomfort, find steadfastness. This same logic applies in battle. When chaos ensues, there is no room for hesitation. You must act, even if your body trembles, even if fear presses on. The Stoics had already spoken of this centuries before. For them, the practice of voluntary discomfort was a way to strengthen the soul. Seneca advised his students to, from time to time, live with the bare minimum, sleeping on the floor, wearing simple clothing, eating only the essentials. He would ask, "Is this what I feared?" The goal wasn't gratuitous suffering, but to remember that we are stronger than we imagine, that we can endure cold, pain, and loss and still remain standing. Taking a cold shower in the morning is exactly that, a daily workout against the mind that insists on seeking only pleasure. It's a reminder that you don't need to wait for motivation or courage to act. You just do it. You get in the water, breathe, endure, and when you emerge, you realize you've conquered yourself. And this feeling of victory, however small, reorganizes your thoughts. If you've conquered the cold, you can also conquer the fear of exposing yourself, the insecurity of starting something new, the doubt that clutters your mind. The cold teaches us more about life than it seems. It shows us that pain is fleeting, that initial discomfort doesn't last forever, and that clarity comes after endurance. As in Stoic philosophy, the goal is not to eliminate difficulties, but to learn to face them head-on, without giving in. Because discipline isn't the absence of pain, it's the decision to continue despite it. You can choose comfort and live forever at the mercy of insecurity, or you can choose discomfort and train your mind to be stronger than your impulses. A cold shower lasts a few minutes, but the lesson remains all day long. It reminds you that you have more control than you think, that you don't have to surrender to the inner voices that tell you "I can't" or "I can't handle it." The next time you look at the faucet and feel the temptation to choose hot water, do the opposite. Step into the cold, breathe, hold on, stay. Notice how your body reacts, how your mind tries to escape, and how you can still choose to stay. This small act is a metaphor for all of life. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is acting even while trembling. And if you can do this every morning, you'll realize something powerful. Insecurity fades when you prove, over and over again, that you're not trapped by comfort. Discipline grows when you decide to face what hurts. And little by little, the confusion that once dominated your thoughts begins to give way to a new clarity, that you can endure more than you thought, and that by enduring, you become stronger, calmer, and freer. Secret 3. Waking up early. Mastering time. Waking up early has always been seen as a hallmark of the military. To many, it seems like a mere detail, but for them, it's a matter of survival. Before the sun has even risen, there's already movement, action, and focus. It's not about being productive for the sake of fashion. It's about creating an advantage. Because while most people are still asleep, those who wake up early are already a few steps ahead. And this silent advantage, accumulated day after day, builds a kind of confidence that nothing external can offer. Jocko Willink, a former US Navy commander, said that discipline is freedom. Waking up at 4:30 a.m. isn't a punishment, it's a training in mastery. Mastery of the body, mastery of the mind, mastery of time. Because when you wake up before the world, the day still demands nothing of you. Silence is yours, and in that silence, you choose how to begin. It's in this choice that strength is born. The Stoics understood this differently, but with the same essence. Marcus Aurelius wrote that often upon waking, the first temptation was to stay in bed, seeking a few more minutes of pleasure. But he reminded himself, you were born for action, not to roll yourself up in the blankets like animals. For him, waking early was an act of alignment with one's nature, rising to fulfill what one came into the world to do, not out of external obligation, but out of internal fidelity. And here's the point. Waking up early isn't just about the schedule, it's about attitude. It's telling yourself that you're in control, not laziness, not insecurity, not the confusing thoughts that insist on keeping you stuck. When you wake up earlier, when you anticipate, you prove to yourself that you can win the first battle of the day. An invisible battle, but one that decides the course of all the others. Of course, waking up early alone doesn't transform anyone. If you wake up at 5 a.m., but spend the first hour lost in distractions, you're still trapped in the same mental confusion. What matters is how you use that time. Soldiers wake up early because they know every minute counts. They use this advantage to train, organize, and prepare. They don't waste the silence of the early morning. They transform it into clarity. Similarly, the Stoics used this early time to meditate, write, and reflect. It was a time to align the mind before the world's chaos arrived. And why is this so powerful against insecurity? Because insecurity feeds on improvisation, haste, and confusion. When you wake up late, you're already racing for time, already at a disadvantage, already reacting. The day sets the pace, and you just follow it. But when you wake up early, you create the rhythm. You decide the direction before others decide for you. This doesn't eliminate insecurity, but it diminishes its power, because now you have clarity. Think about how many times your mind has started the day anxious, with thousands of scattered thoughts, like soldiers without a leader. Waking up early is assuming the role of commander of your own inner troop. You organize your ideas, define your strategy, and inspire discipline. It's at the beginning of the day that the order is given. Advance, don't retreat. Build, don't postpone. Act, don't get lost in doubt. But make no mistake, there will be resistance. Your body will crave more sleep. Your mind will make excuses, and insecurity will whisper that you can put it off. That's where training comes in, because conquering yourself, winning the first battle of the morning, is what strengthens the invisible muscles of discipline. Every awakening before the world is a silent reminder you are in control. And if you think change is impossible, remember the Stoics. They didn't talk about discipline in war academies, but amid the chaos of ordinary life. Epictetus said, "First tell yourself who you want to be, then do what needs to be done." Waking up early is exactly that, an act of definition. It's you saying to yourself, I choose to be the commander of my life, not its hostage. The next time insecurity tries to scramble your thoughts early in the morning, remember, the discipline of waking up early isn't about a clock, it's about clarity. It's about starting the day like a winner, because whoever wins the first hour wins the rest of the day. And whoever wins the day little by little wins their own life. Secret 4. Making the bed. Small victories. It may seem trivial, even ridiculous, to think that making your bed as soon as you wake up can change anything in your life. After all, it's just a detail, a small, almost automatic gesture. But that's precisely where the strength lies. The military knows that discipline begins in the smallest details, in the invisible, in the things almost no one values. Therefore, upon waking, the first order of business is simple: make the bed. And it's not about the sheets being straight or the pillows being aligned. It's about starting the day with victory. Admiral William McRaven, one of the most respected figures in the US Navy, said that if you make your bed, you've already accomplished the first task of the day. This small achievement gives you confidence for the next, and then the next. Before you know it, you've created a chain of victories that sustains the entire day. It's as if each small success builds on itself, creating a solid foundation for facing the great challenges that lie ahead. The Stoics taught the same logic, only applied to the mind. They knew that no one becomes wise overnight. Virtue isn't born in grand gestures, but in small, repeated choices. Seneca said that life is made up of details, and that if we fail in the details, we lack the strength for the big moments. Making the bed is just that, a detail that represents order, clarity, and coherence. It's saying to the world and to yourself, I take care of what's in my hands, even if it's small, and that's where insecurity begins to lose ground, because insecurity always feeds on the feeling of lack of control, disorganization, and internal chaos. When you wake up to a mess, your body registers that there's no order, no direction. This may seem insignificant, but it profoundly influences your mental state. Conversely, when you wake up and organize the most intimate space of your life, you send a message to your mind. There is clarity, there is command, there is direction. Making the bed also brings another Stoic lesson: the importance of the present. You can't change what happened yesterday, nor can you guarantee what will happen tomorrow. But you can act now, in this small moment. The simple act of straightening a sheet becomes a powerful reminder that life happens in the details of today, not in the expectations of tomorrow. Some will say this is a waste of time, that it doesn't make any difference. But think about it. If you can't master a simple task, how do you expect to master complex ones? If you can't master what's right in front of your eyes, how can you master what's invisible? It's easy to fall into the illusion that discipline only appears in great battles, difficult decisions, and epic moments. But those who don't train in the details fail when the big test arrives. Imagine a soldier who ignores the order to polish his weapon because he thinks it's irrelevant. In battle, when he needs it most, the weapon might fail. For you, the bed is that weapon. Caring for it isn't about aesthetics, but about preparation. It's daily training for what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius said we need to live according to our nature, and that means acting with dignity in everything, even in the seemingly small. Making your bed may not change the world, but it does change your inner state, and someone with order inside is better able to deal with the chaos outside. So the next time you wake up and feel the temptation to leave everything messy, remember, this gesture isn't neutral. You're starting the day with disorder or with discipline. You're telling yourself, I'll take care of myself, or I'll abandon myself. And this message echoes in every decision you make in the hours that follow. Making the bed is more than just straightening the sheets. It's aligning the mind. It's creating an early victory, a victory that no one applauds, but which builds the foundation for all others. It's remembering that discipline isn't born in grand gestures, but in the sum of small choices. Choices that, repeated daily, transform a room into order, a mind into clarity, and a life into consistency. Secret 5. Daily exercise. Body as an ally. In the military, the body is not just a means of transportation, it is the very tool of survival. The soldier who doesn't train his body is at constant risk. Daily running, strength training, endless repetitions of push-ups, sit-ups and marches are not vanity, they are strategy. A prepared body sustains the mind in extreme situations, and a neglected body can jeopardize the entire mission. This view is not exclusive to the barracks. It is a principle we can apply to civilian life and, above all, to Stoic philosophy. The Stoics knew that mind and body are not separate worlds. Epictetus, who lived most of his life as a slave, had a limited and even injured body, but he never failed to remember that mental discipline was reinforced by simple physical practices. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and warrior, wrote that enduring bodily fatigue also trained the soul's endurance. The body is like a wall that supports the inner castle. If this wall is fragile, any wind can shake it. If it is firm, even storms pass without knocking it down. When you exercise daily, you're not just strengthening muscles. You're teaching your mind to push through discomfort. You're telling yourself, even if I'm tired, I keep going. This message extends to all areas of life. If you can endure the pain of a few more reps, you can also endure the frustration of criticism, the weight of doubt, the slowness of a process. The body becomes a training ground for patience and resilience. Insecurity, on the other hand, loves a fragile body. It takes advantage of a lack of energy, a slumped posture and shallow breathing. When the body isn't cared for, the mind easily fills with confusing thoughts. I can't do it, I can't do it, I won't be able to do it. Have you ever noticed how even a simple walk or run can change your mood? The body moves and the mind gains clarity. It's as if every drop of sweat also clears away the jumbled thoughts. The military has a motto: sweat in training, so as not to bleed in war. Every exercise performed today is a form of silent preparation for tomorrow's challenges. In Stoicism, the logic is similar. Daily effort prepares you to face life's inevitable difficulties with determination. No one escapes suffering, but those who train their body and mind are not overcome by the first impact. You don't have to live like an elite athlete or train like a soldier. You just need to create the habit of moving every day without excuses. It could be a light jog, a few minutes of stretching, or simple exercises at home. What matters isn't intensity, but consistency. Daily exercise is a constant reminder that you're not hostage to laziness, excuses, or insecurity. Remember, the body was made to act. Marcus Aurelius said we shouldn't complain about being tired, because the body was born for movement, just as eyes were born to see and ears to hear. Neglecting the body is going against its very nature. Training it is honoring what we were made to be. And there's something deeper here. When you exercise, you learn to relate to pain. Not destructive pain, but constructive pain, the kind that signals growth. Your muscle aches because it's getting stronger. Your breath burns because it's expanding its capacity. This pain is a silent teacher, teaching you that discomfort is not an enemy, but an ally. And when you internalize this lesson, you begin to look at life's other challenges differently. Therefore, see daily exercise as a practice of philosophy, not just health. It's a way to align body and mind, to prepare yourself to endure chaos without falling apart, to transform insecurity into clarity. Every drop of sweat is a seed of discipline planted, and this discipline grows day after day until it becomes a strength that no one can take away from you. Secret 6. Do what hurts. Embrace discomfort. There's a phrase repeated by many military personnel that almost sounds like a mantra. Do what hurts. At first glance, it may seem like a cruel command, but in reality, it's one of the greatest lessons in discipline anyone can receive. Because it's precisely in discomfort that strength is forged. David Goggins, a former SEAL and ultramarathoner, always said that the secret to an unshakable mind is to expose yourself daily to what you hate most. He hated running, and so he ran every day, not out of masochism, but because he learned that by facing what bothers him, he was eliminating fear's power over him. And if we think about it, life already works this way. Everything truly worthwhile requires some level of pain. Growing hurts, changing hurts, Overcoming limitations hurts. Running away from this pain only prolongs the weakness. Facing it, on the other hand, builds clarity and confidence. Soldiers train in the cold, in extreme heat, in profound exhaustion, precisely to teach their bodies and minds that no situation is impossible. If you can endure the worst in training, you'll be ready for any real challenge. The Stoics also spoke of this training in discomfort, called the voluntary practice of difficulty. Seneca recommended spending days living with little, wearing simple clothing, eating cheap food, and sleeping in uncomfortable places. Not because he was against pleasure, but because he wanted to teach the mind a powerful truth. Is this what I was afraid of? Discomfort ceases to be a monster when you face it head-on. Insecurity arises precisely when you avoid what you fear. Every time you run away from a painful situation, you reinforce the idea that you're incapable of handling it. Your mind scrambles its thoughts, creates excuses, and invents justifications. Discomfort grows like a shadow. But when you choose to approach what hurts, face it head-on and move through it, you realize the shadow was smaller than it seemed. And this realization is liberating. Doing what hurts doesn't mean living in self-punishment, but in empowerment. It means choosing to run even on a rainy day. It means starting the difficult conversation you've been avoiding. It means studying when your mind only wants distraction. It means facing the insecurity in others' eyes instead of hiding. Every time you choose discomfort over escape, you reinforce your discipline. And it is in this process that true confidence is born. Not the fragile confidence based on praise or quick results, but the solid confidence built by the repetition of invisible victories. When you endure what hurts, you create an internal armor. This armor doesn't make you insensitive, but resilient. You may feel fear, doubt, fatigue, but you still keep going. And this persistence is what separates those who live hostage to insecurity from those who live guided by discipline. The Stoics would sum it up in a simple sentence: the path of virtue is never the easiest. It always requires effort, sacrifice, and courage. And the military would say something similar: the only way to be ready for chaos is to go through it on purpose. That's why discomfort should be sought, not avoided. It is the training that organizes the mind and strengthens the soul. The next time you feel the urge to run away from what hurts, remember, escape is comfortable, but it's what keeps insecurity alive. Discomfort is hard, but it's what destroys mental confusion. Choosing pain today is choosing clarity tomorrow, because discipline isn't born in what's easy, but precisely in what demands the most of you. Secret 7. Protocols and checklists. Clarity amid chaos. In any military operation, there is one principle that is never broken: nothing is left to chance. Whether it's a routine mission or a high-risk operation, there are always protocols, there are always checklists. The reason is simple: in chaos, the human mind fails. Stress scrambles thoughts, anxiety distorts perceptions, pressure leads to fatal errors. That's why soldiers don't rely solely on memory or improvisation. They rely on order. A checklist ensures nothing important is forgotten. A protocol ensures everyone knows exactly what to do when the unexpected happens. It's the discipline of preparation that maintains clarity amidst confusion. Now think about your own life. How many times have you found yourself lost in disorganized thoughts, unsure of where to begin? How many times has insecurity arisen because it seemed like there was too much to handle and you didn't know what to prioritize? This is the same chaos soldiers face in the field, but on a personal scale. And like them, you can overcome it by creating structure. The Stoics spoke about this more philosophically, but with the same principle. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his diary as if he were creating a mental checklist. He listed the temptations he would be exposed to that day, remembering that he would encounter ungrateful, aggressive, and envious people. And by anticipating all this, he prepared himself to respond calmly. Epictetus also taught, before acting, ask yourself what your part is and what it isn't. This is, in essence, a protocol. It's an internal guide to avoid getting lost in emotions or circumstances. A checklist isn't just a to-do list. It's a way to organize your mind. When you write it down, when you put it on paper, you transform confusion into clarity. What was once a whirlwind of thoughts becomes something concrete, tangible, visible, and this reduces insecurity. Because insecurity grows when everything seems vague, undefined, out of control. But when there's a plan, an established order, the mind finds calm. Think about simple situations. You need to study, work, take care of the house, resolve personal issues, all at the same time. Without organization, the burden multiplies and anxiety takes over. But when you create a protocol, first this, then that, then the other, the pressure eases. Clarity replaces chaos. This is the power of discipline applied to detail. In the military, protocols are drilled into the core. When the alarm rings, every soldier already knows their role. There's no room for panic, because the body acts before the mind wanders. You can apply this too. Create clear routines for the essentials in your life, protocols for starting the day, for dealing with distractions, for regaining focus when you feel lost. This way, when insecurity strikes, you won't rely on spur-of-the-moment motivation. You'll simply follow what's already been decided. The Stoics called this premeditation. It's thinking ahead, preparing ahead, creating guidelines so that emotion doesn't rob you of clarity. Like a commander in the field, you anticipate chaos and establish your own rules. And when the storm arrives, you don't panic because you already know what to do. It's easy to believe that discipline is just willpower, but it isn't. True discipline comes from preparation. Those who live improvised lives will always be hostage to their emotions. Those who create protocols, who organize their lives into clear checklists, find freedom. Because order doesn't eliminate chaos, but it gives the mind a map to navigate it. The next time you feel insecure, lost in 1,000 thoughts, don't try to control everything at once. Grab a piece of paper, create a checklist, establish a protocol, turn confusion into simple steps. And remember, chaos doesn't conquer those who already have a plan, but there is a catch. If you've been trying for a long time to get out of conformity and ignorance, and you can't do it in any way, maybe it's for other reasons that you don't know what's causing this. But I know what it is. It's anxiety. Anxiety comes like a silent snake and poisons you without you feeling it. This leaves you infected for days, months, and even years, and if you have that, it would be like living sick. However, there is an antidote from the Stoics, which together with modern psychology can free you from all this, just as it freed me. I made a video showing how you can get rid of this poison in your life. It's in the first comment. Click on the link in the first comment and cure yourself of this poison of anxiety. Secret 8. Personal hygiene and order. Visible dignity. Discipline isn't just revealed in great acts of courage or difficult decisions. It's revealed above all in how we care for what seems banal, our bodies, our appearance, and the order in our surroundings. In the military, hygiene isn't a matter of vanity but of survival. Soldiers on missions can spend days in extreme conditions, surrounded by dust, mud, and disease. Even so, the order is clear. Maintain hygiene, maintain appearance, and keep your uniform impeccable. Because a clean body and a neat uniform are not just symbols of organization, but silent reminders of dignity. The Stoics spoke of the same dignity, only from the inside out. For them, external care reflected internal care. Epictetus reminded us that we don't control everything that happens to us, but we do control how we present ourselves to the world. And if we present ourselves in disarray, the mind tends to follow suit. When we neglect the body, we often neglect the mind as well. When we ignore external organization, we reinforce internal confusion. It's easy to think that appearance is superficial, that it doesn't matter. But think about the last time you were unkempt, lacking energy, or not taking care of yourself. Doesn't this affect how you act, speak, and even think? Now think about the opposite. When you present yourself with hygiene, posture, and presence, the difference isn't just in how others look at you, but in how you see yourself. This difference changes how you face the challenges of the day. In Stoicism, virtue begins in the invisible but manifests itself in the visible. The steadfastness of the soul must be evident in everyday actions. Caring for one's body, keeping one's home tidy, tidying one's desk, cleaning one's living space. All of this is applied philosophy. Every external detail is also a reflection of the internal. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and soldier, noted in his diaries that a ruler should set an example even in small gestures, because that is where true discipline is revealed. Hygiene, therefore, isn't just about physical health. It's a daily practice of self-control. It's the decision not to abandon yourself, even when no one is watching. The soldier who takes care of his uniform in the middle of the battlefield is reminding himself that he's not a hostage to chaos. He may be surrounded by destruction, but his body and posture are still territories under his command. This lesson applies to all of us. Even if your life is in turmoil, you can still control how you take care of yourself. And this is powerful against insecurity, because insecurity often stems from a feeling of internal abandonment, a lack of self-confidence. When you look in the mirror and see someone who doesn't take care of themselves, your mind reinforces the message: you're not worthy, you're worthless. But when you look and see clarity, order, and firmness, even if simple, it sends another message: I respect myself, I value myself, I'm in control. This shift in perception can completely transform how you approach your day. Consider how environments also influence the mind. A messy room, a desk cluttered with things, a dirty bathroom. All of this generates invisible noise, pollutes thoughts, and creates a feeling of heaviness and disorder. Now compare it to a clean, organized, and airy space. Just looking at it makes the mind breathe differently. The Stoics understood this principle. External order helps reinforce internal order. It's not a matter of obsession, but of clarity. Therefore, hygiene and personal order are not whims. They are Stoic practices of discipline. They are a way of reminding yourself every day that your life has value, and that this value begins with what you can control now: washing your face, organizing your space, maintaining your posture, aligning your surroundings. These small rituals create a field of dignity where insecurity finds no room to grow. The next time you think hygiene and order are irrelevant, remember, those who don't take care of the small become weakened in the face of the great. Those who don't control their own bodies have difficulty controlling their minds. And those who don't honor their dignity in the details end up surrendering their power to chaos. Choose, then, the Stoic path. Take care of yourself, maintain order, cultivate presence. Because discipline isn't just what you do in public, it's above all what you maintain in silence, when only you can see. Secret 9. Reverse planning. In military training, there is a technique called reverse planning, planning in reverse. Instead of starting with the first step, we begin with the last. The commander defines the mission's ultimate objective and from there works backward. What are the intermediate milestones? What are the critical steps? What actions need to happen beforehand to make this result possible? By the time we reach the present, every detail is already planned. There's no confusion because the path was designed backward. This method may seem technical, but it holds profound wisdom that can transform your life. Often, insecurity arises precisely because we look at the beginning and can't see the end. It's like trying to navigate a dense forest without a map. The first step seems futile because we don't know where it will lead. But when we have clarity about our final destination, even the simplest step becomes meaningful. Reverse planning does just that. It clarifies the present by illuminating the future. The Stoics also practiced this type of thinking. For them, each action needed to be connected to a greater purpose. Marcus Aurelius said, "Let each act be done as if it were your last." This didn't mean haste, but focus. He visualized death as the inevitable final milestone, and from there, planned his conduct in the present. What should I do now so that, when I reach the end, I will have lived according to my principles? This is the philosophical version of planning in reverse. In practice, this can be applied in many ways. Imagine you need to write a book. Instead of thinking about the beginning, where to start, how to structure it, what the first sentence will be, start at the end. When do I want the manuscript ready? What will be the last action before submission? Once you define this point, you go back a step. How long to revise? Go back further. How long to write each chapter? And so on until you reach today. The chaos dissolves because each action earns a place in the timeline. This strategy also combats insecurity. Because insecurity thrives on what if? What if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What if I can't? But when you've mapped out the path backwards, the what if loses its power. You're no longer reacting to chance, you're executing a plan. There's clarity, there's structure, there's discipline. The mind, previously lost in scattered thoughts, finds security in the order you've created. In the military, reverse planning ensures that troops aren't caught off guard. In Stoic philosophy, it ensures that life isn't lived without direction, because planning backward is, at its core, remembering the inevitable end. If death is certain, how do I want to get there? What kind of person do I want to have been? What legacy do I want to leave? When you answer this, every small act of the day takes on meaning. Discomfort becomes training, discipline becomes a path, insecurity becomes irrelevant. The secret is simple but powerful. Don't just start with now. Look to the end and work your way back. Define who you want to be, what you want to achieve, how you want to live. Then ask yourself, what is the step immediately before, and the one before that, until you reach today? This way, the present ceases to be confusing, because it is clearly connected to the destination. The next time you feel lost and unsure of where to go, practice this exercise. Visualize the end, draw the path backward, and bring clarity from the future to illuminate the present. Because discipline isn't just walking, it's walking with direction, and direction only exists when you know exactly where you want to go. Secret 10. Never give up. Stoic resilience. In military training, there's an unspoken law that separates those who stay from those who quit. Never stop. Each year, thousands of recruits begin elite courses like BUDS, the SEALs training. Only a small fraction complete them. It's not because the others lacked physical strength. It's because they lacked mental strength. The body gives in when the mind has already given up. The cold, the hunger, the fatigue. All of these become unbearable only when the mind decides it can't take any more. But those who stay, even trembling, even exhausted, discover that there's still strength within them. They discover that resilience is, above all, a choice. And this is the greatest lesson we can learn. Discipline only becomes real when it continues, even after the desire fades. Many start out excited. Many dedicate themselves for days or weeks. But those who endure for months, years without giving up are the ones who truly achieve clarity and transformation. The secret isn't in never failing, but in never giving up. The Stoics knew this deeply. Marcus Aurelius faced external wars and internal pain, yet he wrote in his diaries, "If you are faced with a difficult task, endure it. If it is possible to endure it, then do not complain." For him, the greatest failure was not falling, but losing one's steadfastness in the face of adversity. Epictetus also reminded us, it's not what happens to you that matters, but how you respond. And responding with perseverance is what distinguishes the strong from the weak. Insecurity feeds on giving up. Every time you back down from a challenge, your mind registers, "I can't do it," and this message accumulates, creating a pattern. Confusion grows, doubt grows, until you begin to believe you weren't born to succeed. But every time you decide to keep going, even without motivation, even without certainty, you create another pattern. I persist. And this pattern transforms into discipline, confidence, and resilience. Never giving up doesn't mean never feeling like giving up. Soldiers feel it too. Stoics felt it too. But the difference lies in the response. You can feel like quitting, but still choose to keep going. This choice is what forges character. It's what transforms inner chaos into order. Because when you persist despite the difficulties, you prove to yourself that insecurity doesn't have the final say. The modern world has accustomed us to immediacy. If we don't see quick results, we soon consider giving up. But life isn't built in days, but in years of consistency. Military discipline and Stoic philosophy remind us of something essential. Nothing great is achieved without resilience. The soldier wins not because he is the strongest, but because he never stops. The Stoic achieves peace not because he never suffers, but because he endures pain without abandoning his steadfastness. The next time you feel like you can't take it anymore, pause and look within. Ask yourself, is it really impossible or just uncomfortable? Often, giving up doesn't come from a real impossibility, but from impatience with the pain. Remember, pain passes, fatigue passes, insecurity passes. But the habit of giving up remains, and so does the habit of continuing. This is what Stoic resilience is, not denying difficulty, but bearing it with courage, not giving in to the first impulse to flee, but staying on the path you've chosen, not letting fear overwhelm you, but using it as fuel to keep going. Because in the end, true discipline isn't starting. It's never giving up. In the end, discipline is not a prison. Quite the opposite. It is the key to freedom. Because those who live without discipline are slaves to insecurity, improvisation, and internal chaos. But those who choose discipline gain clarity, strength, and direction. The military show us how order conquers chaos. The Stoics remind us that a firm mind is unshakable in the face of life. Discipline, then, is not just about waking up early, making your bed, or braving the cold. It is about being able to look within and say, I am in command. And when you take that command, you discover that nothing from the outside can truly hold you back.